Hello, Steve. Can you hear me? I'm John Francois. How are you?
I'm good, John. I'm good. How are you doing? How long you been doing?
I'm sorry.
How long you been doing the podcast thing?
So I used to do like a previous iteration of this podcast, which was like in the style of a radio morning show. It was called the Anything Show. So I did that for about 3 years, and then this iteration of the podcast, where we are recapping Family Matters, has been going on for the past year.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, no. So my co-host Andrew unfortunately could not join us, but he sends us well wishes, and we were just really enjoying recently season 2, episode 4, Flashpants, which you guest starred as the Master of Ceremonies. And
That.
by your laugh, it seems like you may have had pleasant memories of that experience.
Oh my God, I do. I did the show twice. I did it the first year. I was an IRS guy in the first season.
No,
And
so actually, I watched that episode today. It was actually not until season 7 that you were the IRS agent.
okay. I wanted to do this because I had such fun on the show, and the people were so nice. I was sort of a Miller Boyett guy. My first job, pretty much my first job in L.A., was doing the pilot of Perfect Strangers
Wow.
uh, with Balky, and it was Louis Anderson,
Huh.
the other guy, not Mark. And
Yeah.
Louis had trouble with lines, so they accepted the pilot, but they picked it up, but they recast it with Mark. And then I did the pilot again with the two of them.
So who did you play in the pilot? Were you one of the two leads in the pilot originally, or were you?
No, I was, I think I was customer number 2 or something.
Oh.
And it was Louis Anderson and Balky, and then Mark. I can't think of Mark's last name now. And
Lynn Baker, Mark Lynn Baker.
Archie Baker, yes, and Balky. Which ran then for quite a while, 3-4 years.
Yeah, like 8 years.
But I did a lot of Miller Boyett stuff, and of course, Family Matters was one of them. And I had such fun on the show. The people were so nice. Everybody was just great, and it was good. The Flashpants was a lot of fun during the sleazy MC.
Yeah,
Dance was great fun.
yeah. You had that like sort of sleazy announcer voice.
Yeah, sleazy announcer
as the Master of Ceremonies. I believe that Carl.
Yeah, hey, all of that jazz.
Exactly.
It was interesting when I did the first show, which I think was unless I have these reversed, but I think Flashpants was the second show I did, or not.
It was the first one, but before.
No, it was the first.
Yeah.
Well, in that one, Urkel was just beginning to take over the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Reggie, the father, was not real happy about it. He was a little disgruntled.
Really?
It was his show originally, and then this kid was taking over.
Yeah.
And so he was a little on edge. You could see he was kind of unhappy.
Did he talk to him
later when I did the second show that I did there? He was fine. I think he realized, hey, the show's a hit. I'm just going to sit back and let it go. So a year later, he had totally accepted what was going on, and Urkel had become, the linchpin of the show by that time. But it was interesting to watch the transition. Juilliard. He did a show, I think it only lasted a season, where he was a teenager.
Right.
And I did an episode of that and worked in it. He was always a great, great kid. Everybody was. That was so nice. They were so welcoming and friendly. It was a lot of fun. And I worked a lot with Miller Boyett shows, actually. I did a couple of Perfect Strangers, 2 or 3. I did the Patrick Duffy, Suzanne Summers. I did 2 of those.
Yeah, Step by Step. Yeah.
Yep, did 2 of those. So they would recycle me a lot. In fact, I even did a series for them, Heather Locklear's Only Failed series, called Going Places.
Right.
I jumped into that in the second half of its first year as an obnoxious talk show host, as opposed to the obnoxious host of the dads. Very similar characters. And then we did 9 episodes, and then the show was canceled. And what they tried to do in that was then get these 2 kids in. One was my son, one was one of the other cast members' sons. And they started handing the show to these 2 kids, hoping to strike gold like Urkel again. But he was pretty special.
Yeah.
He was quite wonderful, and these kids were only okay.
Can I ask what specifically about Miller Boyett Productions made it special for you to keep coming back and doing work for them? Like, was it something that you liked about them that,
Oh yeah, they were
back?
always fun. Mostly comedies, and I was kind of giving you a lot of free reign back there, and they came to really like me and were happy to give me free reign, and so I would add stuff, and it was great. That was, like I say, when I started with them, and then we almost I got a series with them, and but it only lasted one season. Like I say, Heather Locklear had one hit series after another, and then this was the first one that didn't go.
Right.
Wouldn't you know?
Now, for the characters that you played on Family Matters, the Master of Ceremonies and the IRS tax agent, did you have any specific guidance from writers and producers on how to craft that character, or was that something that you created yourself with your?
But you just auditioned for it. Basically, you always auditioned. They never. Well, once they gave me a part. Actually, once they did give me a part, but you usually would audition and you'd come in with your take on it, and they went great. Oh yeah, let's do it. And the one show they did, I played once again the sleazy. I did a lot of sleazy for them.
Yeah.
Sleazy car salesman on the Patrick Duffy Suzanne Summers show. Once upon a time, was that it?
Oh no, Step by Step.
Step by Step. I knew there was a step in there.
Yeah.
But then I saw in the breakdowns about a year or so later, there was another car salesman they were looking for. And I actually called them up and I said, "Is that me?" Because I was a car salesman before.
You're right.
And they, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't do it for them. They went, yeah, okay. And so I did two car salesmen on Step by Step.
Oh my God.
And they were a lot of fun. Rich Carell was one of the directors, and Joel Zwick. Both of them directed tons of shows.
How was it? How was it working with them?
Oh, just great. Just great. Both of them total pros and totally supportive. In fact, in the Perfect Strangers, I played a TV director, and I did Joel Zwick. He was directing that episode, but I was doing him, and he would always go, "And we..." I was doing that, and he knew it. He got a charge out of it,
Oh my God, that's wonderful. That is so wonderful.
Rich Carell was his father was on radio, was Amos and Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We got to speak with him. Yeah, you
did. You get to talk to her. Oh yeah, Rich is just great. Is he still working? He was doing Disney for quite a while there. He did. I think he might still be with Disney. Maybe he's with Nickelodeon. I don't know. I know his wife Beth does some work with Nickelodeon. So I think Rich is still pretty active as well. Oh, Rich was great. And he has the biggest collection of Halloween memorabilia stuff. A couple of warehouses full, literally.
Oh my God.
And he would put these things on at his house, and I went to one. It was amazing, just amazing. These life-size Frankenstein, Draculas, everything you can imagine. And it went on through this whole big house of his in Hancock Park. And I guess he has put that on various places throughout the country. They've hired him to ship out these warehouses and set up his Halloween stuff. I'm assuming he's going to be doing it again.
Yeah.
This company.
Can you share a specific memory about being directed by Rich on Family Matters that really stuck out to you as to why you love him?
Well, I've worked with Rich a lot on all of these shows. I don't even know, did I work with him on Family Matters? Was that?
Yeah, you did? Yeah. So I think both
of them, or just the one?
So the tax agent one in season 7, I believe, was directed by him.
Was it? Well, Rich was a great laugher, which is when you're rehearsing is great. Here, it's telling you, yeah, that's working. So he would always do that. And which would be directing in its own way, letting you know that what you're doing was funny and was working, so keep doing that. Easygoing guy, never, with him and Joel, no temperament. It was always fun. And Rich's other thing that we had a combo, bonded with was Rich worked with Harold Lloyd when he was younger. He was Harold Lloyd's sort of assistant out of school. I was a huge Harold Lloyd fan, huge Harold. And in fact, I was at UCLA and Lloyd came and showed his film The Freshman there, and I would sat in front of him so I could hear him talk. And I think he was talking to Rich at the time. Rich was, probably 22. And I didn't know Rich then, but I'm sure Rich said he was there. So that's who he was talking to.
Yeah.
Kind of funny because Lloyd, they had an organist there, Chauncey Haynes, who was an old organist who used to play all the big silent films from Silence all the way up into the 70s. And Chauncey was playing an organ there at UCLA. And here's Lloyd, how many years later, 40, 50, watching his film, and he leans over to Rich and goes, Chauncey's playing too loud here.
Oh, my God. I bet. That's awesome. You played High Sultan in a 1986 episode of Cheers.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
How was that? Because, Cheers is my favorite show.
Oh, my God. That was a fascinating show. They had been doing Cheers for quite a while. They came in Wednesdays, not Mondays, Wednesday by this time. They would kind of quickly block it. Wednesday afternoon, by the way, not Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon.
Right.
They would kind of block it. Then we'd do like a camera rehearsal on Thursday and then shoot it Friday. Very little rehearsal. They were Woody Harrelson was walking on the set. They said, here, we rewrote some lines. And he picks it up. Okay. Goes on. I mean, they were so
effortless.
They had been doing this for a while. They had it down.
Yeah.
And everyone, once again, great. Danson, great guy. We talked about New York. He was in New York for a while.
Right.
And drove out in a Volkswagen bus with his whole family out to L.A. He had been in the park in one of the Shakespeare things, I think carrying a spear, basically, he was saying. And then Carlo was great. This was transitioning. Shelley.
Yeah. I think this might have been like Shelley's last season.
Last show, I think. And she was going to the Emmys or something, so she couldn't even be there for some rehearsals, blah, blah, blah. And I think it was like her last show. They were going to transition then to Kirstie Alley the next year.
Yeah, from the character of Diane Chambers to whatever character Kirstie Alley played. I forgot, but she was a great character as well.
When I pictured for it, the Knights of the Scimitar or whatever it was the A plot. We got the script, read for it, got it. Then when I came in to shoot, it was the B plot. It had been cut down for whatever reason. They just rewrote the show. And then it was like, well, okay, whatever.
Yeah. How did you feel about that?
Okay, I would have rather been more fun if it was the A plot, but
yeah,
what to do? Okay, I'll do this. Yeah. Well, that was interesting, and that they, I have a feeling they were fast and loose on that show. They could rewrite it. They'd all been doing it so long, and everybody knew their character.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now I've heard about like how the cast was so tight knit, they had a chemistry that sometimes it would intimidate guest stars. Were you intimidated when you came on?
No, not at all. In fact, when I went out to lunch, Woody and Norm.
Norm.
They came with me. We were sitting around. I guess they'd recognize me. I was a face. I'm still a face. A lot of people don't know my name, but they've seen me. I've just done a lot. And they came out and they were great. We're talking and shooting the bowl and having lunch. And no, that didn't bother me. Because and then Kelsey Grammer was on the show, and
Fraser
from Juilliard. We were at Juilliard at the same time, although I didn't know him. I was an upperclassman, he was an underclassman, and he knew he was Steve. He says, he comes up and gave me a hug, and I'm like going, why is Kelsey hugging me?
Oh my!
Found out that he was at Juilliard, and I was like, yeah.
That's interesting that you say that, because I've heard that like Kelsey can just turn it on as Fraser, and then when the cameras were off, he was dealing with like some deeply sad personal stuff. But you got a good Kelsey that day.
God bless him. He made it through it, man. He could have been dead. He had big. He was going through it then. I went into his dressing room, and there was a giant gallon of vodka, which was 3/4 down.
Wow.
But he made it, man. God bless him. He beat it. He beat it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think his sister and father were murdered. Like within a short period of time. I think that's what it was.
Now that I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, he had relatives murdered within a short period of time when he was younger. So yeah, he was going through some traumatic stuff. So I'm glad that he was able to
do it. Yeah, that would certainly do it.
Right.
But he God bless him, man. It isn't easy to beat that stuff, and he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen the new Frasier that's on now?
I saw the first episode. I mean, honestly, I'm biased. I love the old Frasier, so right. I'm not gonna watch any further. Have you?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. No.
Yeah, so but it's 2 seasons in, so it seems to be doing well on Paramount.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed that you worked on 2 Tim Allen projects. You were Dr. New in the Santa Claus, and then you were also Dr. Hennessy in the sitcom that Tim Allen did, Home Improvement. Can you share what those experiences were like? If you got to interact with Tim Allen much?
Santa Claus was a hoot. I got, in fact, it ended up being the scene they showed on all the talk shows. That was to advertise, the Santa Claus when it was opening. On the, Tonight Show, it was my scene with him.
Do you mind describing the scene?
Yeah, I'm the doctor. If anybody's seen the Santa Claus, and he runs on the treadmill, and he's complaining that he's getting heavy, and he's growing a beard. And I listen to his heart, and it's jingle bells. And when I came in, this was their last week. But this is up in Canada. They shot it to save money, and this was their last week. And they did a 2-hour special on the making and the history of the Santa Claus. And this story is in there. Tim hated being in the fat suit because there was now they give him air conditioning and all that crap. There was none of that. They had to put on these layers and then the beard, and it was so hot and uncomfortable in that thing. No air conditioning. No. So he was not, I didn't know. He was not in a good mood. Well, we came in and we said, well, let's rehearse this. And I said, great. And I said, okay. And he says my first line. Tim does. Kind of like, I laughed. I thought,
yeah.
And I went, well, that's my line. And then went, well, didn't you get the rewrites? No. I went, what rewrites?
Oh, no.
So they run around and they come back and they rewrote the scene. Here I memorized.
Oh, man.
And so now I'm like, oh, yeah. So we read through it, and I got to learn a whole new bunch of dialogue. But they had to put him in the whole fat suit, which took a good hour and a half, so I had time. I ran back to my dressing.
How many pages of dialogue did you have to remember?
Oh, it was a nice little scene. It was probably 3-4 minutes. It was a good scene. Really nice. Very funny. Cute.
How long did it take you to memorize that new dialogue?
Oh, about an hour and a half. I was paring down on it. I got the costume, and I was no distraction, and was able to get it where I wasn't totally uncomfortable, which could have happened, but I wasn't. But then we got, if you see the show again, this was on that special. They said, Tim is on the treadmill, hating being on the treadmill, wanting me to get over there to turn the friggin' treadmill off.
Oh, man.
If you see him running next to him, you'll watch him going,
giving you that cue, yeah.
Looking at me like, come on.
Yeah.
I'm oblivious, totally oblivious. I don't know that's a problem. I don't know any of this.
Yeah.
I'm doing my scene and diddly-boo and daddly-boo. But the director, John Pasquin, who is a dear friend, he was telling that story on that special. And so when you see it next time with him running on the treadmill, you'll notice he's kind of
giving you that cue.
Like this kind of like, get over here, shut it off.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a clue any of this was going on.
Right.
Or that he was upset. I didn't know. I was off learning my lines. So there's an interesting backstory on that one. Yeah.
I love that. What about Home Improvement? Your role as Dr.
Home Improvement was it Disney? Ex-wife, Pat Richardson. We were old friends. We were in a play called Loose Ends together with Kevin Kline at Circle in the Square in Broadway. And Pat and I had known each other for quite a while, and had become friends. So I was really happy for her. This was great for her. God, it ran a long time. I guess I can speak out of school a little because some people are like this, and it's not good or bad. Tim isn't the Tim you see. He's much more serious, kind of worried. And then when he comes on, he puts on the Tim character.
Right. Sort of the macho know-it-all.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that, and friendly, very friendly character. Yeah. But actually, he's kind of withdrawn,
introverted,
little like, concerned. So that was interesting to see. Not a bad guy, but he becomes Tim Allen on the camera. That's not necessarily who he is. I did a Raymond, and Ray was a little like that. Very worried about the show. Concerned, it's his show. So he was a little like that. Whereas Brad Garrett, Trisha Heaton were just terrific. That's my favorite sitcom, I think.
I think both Ray Romano and Tim Allen with their sitcoms, Ray doing Everybody Loves Raymond. I think when you're the lead and you're the voice and the producer. There's a lot of pressure. So I would imagine that once the camera's off, they got a million things they got to think about. So I'm not surprised that they are very intense people once the cameras go off.
Well, you kind of got to be, I guess. Or maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. They were, and it certainly worked for both of them. So whatever you're doing, they did very well.
Yeah. So this was a show that I grew up watching with my mom since she was very religious. Do you remember your appearance on Touched by an Angel?
Oh my God! Well, I did 3 of them. Which one?
Yeah,
I did 3 of them.
Talk about it.
The gal who ran the show, Martha Washington, was that her name? Martha. Well, anyway, okay. We did a sitcom pilot. No, we did a sitcom. We did 9 of them called Raising Miranda, which was the lowest rated show on television.
Wow.
Dead last in the ratings. And Bryan Cranston was in it also. And Bryan and I are still buddies from then. I watched him become this major star,
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, what was I talking about? Oh,
no, you're good. You're good. Touched by an Angel. Your experience on that show. It was a religious drama.
A writer on Raising Miranda. And so she, and we also knew the casting director was a personal friend. So once again, easy shoots, good people. One of the Van Pattens directed one of the episodes, who works a lot now. He does a lot of the big miniseries. She, Roma Downey, with a doll, just a doll. What a nice person. What a nice person. In fact, on the last one I did it with my wife.
Wow.
Where we lose a child or something. I remember we were both crying in Roma's office or something like that. But that was my wife, actually. They cast us both in that one.
Were they looking for people who connected personally with the Christian message of the show, or were they just looking for any actors to just play the part?
No, just play the part. No, didn't get any of that when I was there. I did 3 of them. I think in one where I was an obnoxious guy at a father at a baseball game. The other one, I was a news editor, and then the bereaved parents was the 3rd one. And it was kind of nice. It was like every other year they'd bring me in and I'd do one.
As different characters. Okay.
Different characters. Yeah. It wasn't the same person. Yeah. No.
And what about that? What about you thought made the producer say, okay, we want this guy to come back as
Martha knew me from the series, as did the casting guy, David Chiella was his name. We were friends from New York, David. So he knew we were good. And one of the few times, I don't think we had even auditioned for it. I think David just offered it to us, which is rare and wonderful in this business. It doesn't happen that often. But I think after I'd done 1 or 2, I think he offered the one to my wife, Carolyn, and I. And he knew we could do it. So it wasn't like, making it easier for him. He didn't have to do a session, basically. For those parts, yeah. But it was, a nice show. It was a nice show. And God, we shot one in, where the heck were we?
Like where were you shooting?
Where were we? Near Sundance, I remember, because I went over to Sundance to see a show. Where the Mormons are, Salt Lake City.
Oh, Utah. Yeah.
It was shot in Utah, I think, yeah. And they flew us out there. They had a whole studio there. Like Breaking Bad was shot in Albuquerque. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you remember your appearance on the Disney Channel show Hannah Montana as Maine Webby?
God, yeah. Sure.
Yeah. What memories do you have about that? About working with
Mickey Lawrence? We were supposedly fond of each other, the characters.
I'm sorry.
What a nice gal.
Are you talking about Miley? I could not hear you for a second.
No, I was talking about Vicki Lawrence was also
Cool.
guest on that show.
Nice.
And we were, I guess, romantically interested in each other. And so that was fun. Miley really was young, teenage girl. She had another friend there. They were talking all the time. I played the principal of her school twice.
Mm.
And I would have played it a third time, but this is interesting. It's the last year and they announced it was the last year of Hannah Montana.
Right.
All of these movie stars whose kids loved the show wanted to get on it.
Mm.
So I was told, we're doing a show and the principal's going to be on it again. I went, oh, great. Call me when you do, and we'll do the third one. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Never heard from him. Then later I said, whatever happened? They said, well, all of these stars were trying to do guest spots on the show for their kids so their kids could see them. Ray Liotta did it.
The late, great Ray Liotta. Oh, my God.
Late principal on Hannah Montana. There you go.
Wow. That is awesome. Yeah, I think Disney at the time had like a 65 or 100 episode rule for shows. So maybe like that expired by the time that you were inquiring about appearing on the show again.
Right. Oh, and that was Rich Correll again. That was Rich Correll.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he co-created or created the entire show, but
I think he directed most of them, I think, too.
Yeah. He had a big hand in that. Now, I believe you were in that comedy with Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway, The Intern.
Oh, yes. The Intern. Yeah.
Myers. Yeah. How about that? I mean, how was that movie? How was
that one? Also a lot of fun. I did probably the smartest audition of my life. The director, Nancy Myers, apparently is a perfectionist, and she kind of could drive the crew a little nuts. She will reshoot a lot, or it takes her forever to cast something. And they were well into getting ready to do this movie. And this part of his friend at two funerals, De Niro's friend, hadn't been cast. So I was called in, and it was me and a black guy and just the two of us, I guess. We were called to this hotel where she was staying to audition. And the guy went in first. He read, and then he came out, and then I went in. I said, well, I'm going to get this job. She said, why is that? I said, because every 22 years I do a movie with Robert De Niro.
What was the last movie you did with him?
We did a movie called Jennifer on My Mind. And then 22 years after that, we did Awakenings. And now it's 22 years later.
Wow. So did De Niro remember you from the previous movies when you...
I'll get to that. And then I did the reading. She gave me adjustment. I did it again, read really well. And then I said, well, okay, back to work. And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm understudying Bryan Cranston in the Lyndon B. Johnson play on Broadway all the way. And and I got to get back to it. They were like, oh, my God, really? Well, so not only did I let her know I'd worked with De Niro 2 times before, I read really well, and I let her know I was understudying the lead in the Broadway show. So I just alleviated all of her fears and worries that I could handle this thing. And then I worked, and we did it with De Niro, and quiet guy, like I was in a room sitting, he came in. It turns out I didn't realize it was his, the little room was where he went, but I'm there. I said, so how the last 22 years been for you? Now, raise the kids? And then he started showing pictures of his daughter, who was just gorgeous. And we talked a little bit, And he said, they told me we've worked together. And I said, well, actually, we didn't work together. And Jennifer on My Mind, we didn't have any scenes together. In Awakenings, we had one scene, but it didn't get in the movie. And then, but this is the first time we're really exchanging dialogue, et cetera, et cetera. And I lucked out in that one, in that they're supposed to shoot both funeral scenes the same day. Right. And we did the big one. And they said, yeah, we're running out of time. Okay, listen, we can shoot the second one on Bobby's last day before he leaves, which is a week from Thursday. Okay, great. So, great. Okay, so I get another day. Wonderful. That's good. So I go and come back. And then we do that. And that was an easy one. It was a small one. Renee Russo was there, who was a doll. What a nice person. She's great. She was in the scene. And then I'm supposed to get $1,500 a day for it, which is nice, you know. I figured, oh, well, okay, I'll get $3,000. Later, I get a check for over $12,000.
Wow. How did that happen?
I'm saying, I said, did they make a mistake? Did they make a mistake?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, don't cash it yet. Don't cash it. I have to check, you know. And then about a day later, he calls back. He says, well, every day they held you for over a week, they had to pay you $1,500.
Damn.
So that turned out to be a nice little lucrative job.
There you go.
There you go. Once in a great while it happens. Yeah, yeah. So I told De Niro, I said, now it's interesting. This is our third time every 22 years. I says, the really interesting one is going to be the next movie.
Yeah. Any idea what that might be?
He's going to be 93. I'll be 91. So
yeah.
That'll be in, let's see. Oh, my God, it's coming up. It's like in 12 years.
Wow.
Not that far away.
Coming up soon.
I look forward to that.
You know what? Hey, the older, the wiser. That's what I always say. I love that. So what are you up to nowadays, Steve Vinovich? For anybody who wants to, you know.
The golden years haven't been so golden. It's auditioning a bunch, not getting a lot, which is unusual because my wife and I have been very lucky. We were blessed. We worked all the time as actors. When we were in New York, I would work 50 out of 52 weeks doing something, a play, a commercial, a movie, a TV thing, or something. And it's gotten slow now. In fact, the business is slow now. It has never started up after I did a play last year, which I recommended. It was called Life Sucks. Wonderful play.
What a title.
Won a couple Drama Desk Awards here. We were picked by all the papers as top 10 plays of the year. That was one of them. And we won Best Ensemble. The actors won the Best Ensemble of all the plays that were done last year. So that was fun. Right now I'm looking for another play. I got about 3 I'm kicking around. And did a day on a mini-series in June. And that's it. And I've got a grandson who we have at least one night a week, which is great fun.
I love that. Before I let you go, Steve, can I just ask, I always love hearing about like actors' stories, like how they got to where they got to. So can you describe like what led you to love acting and sort of the lead up to getting your first big break?
Yeah, I loved movies. My God, as a kid, we would go every Saturday. We'd go to the matinees and the hour of cartoons and a serial or whatever. And then I would put on puppet shows. And then I memorized The Tortoise and the Hare, a Bugs Bunny album, 3/78. And I would do the voices for my parents and their friends. So I was kind of performing and getting, applause and stuff for it. And then I went into high school and they had stunt shows. I wrote 3 of them. We won all of them. I was in the senior class play, but I was from Peoria, Illinois. And I didn't think people from Peoria became actors. So later in college, I took an oral interp class. I was a student teacher. She called her boyfriend. She said, I want you to take a look at this guy. I did my reading. He said, I am doing a play. I want you to do it. And then I got my foot in the door and started there in college. But I was not going to pursue it because I didn't I didn't think people from Peoria became actors.
Well, I think Richard Pryor is also from Peoria. And
yes,
quite a bit of acting.
Yeah, we're both in the South Side. Yeah. I wish I'd have known him. Didn't know him back. I lived near, not that far from him, a couple of miles.
Wow.
But yes, he definitely is from Peoria. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then by fluke, I was in New York. I was doing all kinds of theater in college. I was at UCLA. I started getting some work. I was in New York visiting friends. I ran into a friend on the street corner. He said, Juilliard's having auditions this week. I'm there. I'm an assistant director. Would you like to audition? I didn't know what Juilliard was. I thought it was another school. I'd been to school. I thought, but it would be fun to tell everybody back in California that I had an audition in New York.
Yeah.
I went in, found an empty room, ran my 2 monologues, classical and modern, went out, auditioned. They had me do an improv, did an improv. And there from out in the house, I hear John Houseman, who I didn't know who he was either. I didn't know. was. I didn't know what Juilliard was. He says, "Your speech is not very good."
He was blunt.
And I looked at him and I said, "Well, that's what your school's for, isn't it?"
Yeah, to improve. Yep.
They offered me a full scholarship.
Wow.
Jump into the last 2 years of Group 3 as a junior. And
how did that happen if you had a lot to work on?
So I did, and that took me to New York, and I started doing Broadway and commercials, and here we are doing a.
But if John Houseman saw flaws in your speech, how did you get a full scholarship? How did you get so lucky?
Well, they're a voice and speech school. Juilliard mainly. I think he loved that, my saying that. Probably was like, "Oh, okay, this guy."
Yeah, your witty comeback. Yeah,
feisty.
Yeah,
and it's true. You know, if my speech was good, why would I need to go to Juilliard? You know.
Yeah. Well, to all our listeners and viewers, big fans of Family Matters here, please, if you haven't yet, go see Steve Vinovich as the Master of Ceremonies in the season 2 episode Flashpants and the season 7 episode, I believe it's called Walk My Baby Back Home or something of that nature, where he plays the IRS agent. Both roles you do with such sleazy finesse. That's what I love that. Is there a website or social media where we can follow you, Steve?
Oh God, what am I on? I got one of those. I am one of those things.
Well, we know you're on IMDb, Steve Vinovich,
right?
Inovich. So definitely look him up for those of you listening.
Anything else? And I'm also on something else, but I don't even know. I haven't paid that much attention to it, so
that's okay. Facebook, Instagram.
Won't kill you. We're not going to miss a hell of a lot on it. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
Well, I'm still in there plugging. Just had an audition for a play last week, so we're still at it and loving it. I've been very lucky, blessed. I actually made a living as an actor.
Yes,
not a hell of a lot of people can say that.
Absolutely. How did the audition go?
I've done okay, and I'm still enjoying it. Enjoying it.
Yeah. How did that recent audition go?
It went good, except I was totally wrong for it. Totally wrong.
Okay.
I knew I did a really good read, but it was supposed to be a wasp character who was very frail and dying. Well, I don't look wasp or frail and dying, so. But we put it out there and keep going.
Yeah, technically a compliment. I mean, it shows that you still have a lot of youthful vibrance in you. So there you go.
There we go. Yeah, I'm younger than the years.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for talking with me. We'll keep in touch. We'll let you know when this episode airs, and I hope you have a great rest of your day today.
You too, John. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care, Steve.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, Steve Vinovich. It's so weird to be doing this without Andrew, but I am doing it anyway. That was great. So I believe when you're hearing this, maybe you will have already listened to the recap of the first Family Matters episode that Steve is in, season 2, episode 4, Flashpants. So if you have listened to that recap, you know how talented Steve was as the MC. If you have not listened to it yet, I implore you to go do it. Search The Delicious Recap wherever you get podcasts. I mean, why do I need to tell you that? Because that's the only way you're listening to this interview is by already knowing that you have to search The Delicious Recap wherever you get podcasts. Follow us on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon. You get early access to episode recaps and interviews just like the one you heard for just $5 a month. Patreon.com/delicious recap. And yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, Andrew usually does his, let the deliciousness ring thing, and I'm not going to take that away from him. So I'm just going to say, this is John Francois. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.